Good afternoon, gentlemen. It is Wednesday afternoon. It is July 30th already. It certainly feels like July 30th out there in Connecticut. It's up in the 90s again. So much for cool New England. And remember I spoke last week about a rebranding when we talked about things, mentioning the Redskins and stuff like this. This is the result of a rebranding. Post used to be green and white. And we went through a rebranding process. And notice we still have an eagle, and but we're orange. And this is not just any orange. This is one of the most difficult to find oranges out there. And Nike charges extra for this orange. And it also goes with a shade of purple, which is more a maroon, which is a custom color that they made for Virginia Tech, which costs extra to get. So rebranding a franchise is just something I'll bring up. Rebranding a team, even just a uniform change, even saying, hey, we want a new look, is a large proposition. It takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of work. We didn't do this overnight by just saying, hey, now we want to have orange and purple uniforms. A lot went into it, a lot of marketing study. It was an interesting process for me as a coach. It was an annoying process trying to get things replaced, get things done differently. So just a little aside there. What we talk about in class, we've got some experiences with small scale, but quite illustrative of what I say a major franchise would go through. So anyhow, that little aside being done, you're off to a great start with the ideas on the value of a sports enterprise to a community. As you can see, it is not cut and dried yes or no. There are as many economists who say no, it's not worthwhile, to those who say yes, it is worthwhile. If you're going to pressure me on it, I'm going to say I'm decidedly maybe. But what are the things I would look at as an economics person? I would definitely look at the location within the area. I think, Emmanuel, you said something about, when we put in a stadium, the roads are good and everything like that. Have you been to South Philadelphia where Lincoln Financial Field is? That's just an urban nightmare to get there, in and out of. If you ever tried to get in and out of Giant Stadium, it's MetLife Stadium, even the new one, the Meadowlands. Great transportation and infrastructure around it. It's a nightmare. Okay. Yet on the other hand, Fenway Park is ancient, but people understand you don't drive to Fenway Park. You go to remote lots and remote locations, or you're in town anyway, and you take the subway and you take the trolley and you walk. That's a different animal. Jared and I were speaking the other night after the online session, and we just talked about a little bit my trips to Yankee Stadium. Before, it's only a block or two away from where the old Yankee Stadium was. In fact, it's a replica, pretty much, of the original Yankee Stadium. But now, I always hesitated to go there simply because it was a dense, old, urban neighborhood in the Bronx, not the most attractive place. The only reason to be there was Yankee Stadium, and parking was a bear and all that. And now I can take the train to a block away. If I can pick up the train in New Haven, Connecticut, right, which is 45 minutes from my house, and it's got a big parking garage, and just park my car there and just hop on the train, go to the ball game and come back, not a bad deal. On the other hand, if you get there, here's the idea. Do I notice a lot of new businesses or things that have jumped up because of Yankee Stadium? I have to be honest and say no. Okay. When I go to Boston and I look at Fenway Park, there are a lot of businesses around there that are somewhat reliant on the Red Sox, but Boston is a smaller city, and those businesses are going to be there anyway, in many respects. Okay, so the bars, the restaurants, yeah, they do better when the Red Sox are in town, but they're haunts, they're neighborhood haunts. They'll be okay. Some of the stadiums, we went through a kind of a craze in the 70s and 80s, and we were locating stadiums out in the suburbs, and we were locating them out in exurbs even. And these are places where, we looked at transportation infrastructure. Somebody brought up already environmental impact, though. What happens then? Now you notice the trend is to bring stadiums back towards the city centers. Location within the location is a consideration, whether it causes economic benefit or not. That's something I'd like you to think about. Another idea that people always talk about is job creation, and we've had this conversation too. Job creation. Well, what kind of jobs is it creating? While the stadium's being built, these are high-paying construction jobs. And guess what? They're gone once the stadium is built, right? What jobs come with the stadium that are more permanent, and I hesitate to say that? They're part-time, low-wage jobs that work once or twice a week during the team's season, okay? So for a football team, this might be 8-10 times a season, maybe 12, okay? Maybe if there's a concert thrown in, maybe 14 or 15. That job is not what I would call a living wage job. It's a supplemental income, okay? And also that individual likely has another source of income, either themselves or within their family unit, and this is extra. It's nice. It can actually provide wonderful things. I remember back when I was a college student and everything, I wanted to get every dollar I could get. It's supplemental. But are those the kind of jobs that people are going to buy houses, have their children grow up there, invest in schools, invest in the community? Not sure. Okay, that's what happens. So these are the kind of things you really need to think about. Where, the location within the location, the size of the market, and you'll see a lot of things happen differently in different locations. That's the one thing I caution you. I sound like I do admit I sound like I'm against them. I'm not against them at all. I think they have some tremendous benefits. Next week, in fact, when we look at college sports, you'll see in a college environment it's almost a little different, where you get this tremendous influx. Now, I don't see up in here in New England. I don't see the RVs arriving on Wednesday night for a Saturday game. That just doesn't happen. Do I see a lot of people on campus on a Saturday afternoon that otherwise wouldn't be there? Absolutely. In where I went to school at Boston College, it's kind of a landlocked campus. It's a very, very affluent community around there. So everybody shows up for the game. If you're not tailgating, you disperse to go get your dinners and stuff like that. So the impact there is quite different than, say, being in Auburn, Alabama, where even though I haven't visited there, I have one of my coaching colleagues, his son went to Auburn, and everything is concentrated around Auburn University. So that's another aspect of it is when we get to college sports. So again, jury's out. You'll see that a lot of teams do. Sometimes they almost seem like they're holding a municipality hostage, saying, if you don't build me a new stadium, or you don't give me this new roadway, or this new transportation plan, or a rail link to downtown, or something like that, a subway station or thing, I'm going to pack up my team and go to Podunk. These kind of things. It depends highly on market and location. Somebody mentioned Omaha. I got my doctorate at Creighton. I've been to Omaha. I know the little stadium in Omaha. Great place. Some bars and businesses around it. It's within walking distance of downtown Omaha. But Omaha's a small city. What other you have to consider? What other options, entertainment options, are there in Omaha, Nebraska? Hope I'm not offending anybody, but they're not that many. It's not like being in New York, where, if you don't go to the Knicks, you can go to the Nets or the Rangers. Okay? Those kind of things can happen. You can have all sorts of other entertainment and things to occupy your time in a place like New York. So consider this in the eyes of an owner saying, what am I in competition with? I'm not in competition just with other sports teams. I'm in competition with anybody else who can offer that consumer an option for spending their entertainment dollar. And if you look at it that way things come out a little differently. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Maybe you'll hear from me later this week. We're going to do Tuesday night again, as usual, coming up next week, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, and I might even get a chance to sneak in before then. Okay, thanks very much.